Welcome back, Bears fans, to the CHGO Bears Podcast. It is Friday, and I am excited to be here with you. This is Will DeWitt. Joined with me is Nicholas Moreano, and we are here to send you into the 4th of July weekend with a pretty full episode talking about the Chicago Bears coaches. We're going to rank them like we did some Bears players last week in order of importance. And if you're watching here on YouTube, your eyes did not deceive you. You did see Greg Braggs underneath Nick and I there for just a second.
I'm an idiot.
So Greg is producing for us today. And of course, Greg, you're a Bears guy. If any moment you want to jump on and share some thoughts on any of these coaches, like I'm not going to stop you whatsoever. But Nick, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, Will. I was going to ask you, what do you have planned for the 4th of July weekend? It's weird that it falls on a Tuesday, 4th of July, but anything big planned for this upcoming weekend?
We're going to let my oldest AJ is going to go up to see the grandparents for a week and hang out with some cousins. So we'll get a little bit of like extra freedom around the house. But with a baby, we're thinking about trying fireworks. We didn't do it last year because he was still kind of like in that newborn early infancy. But now that he's 19 months, we bought some of those noise canceling headphones. And I think we're going to dabble in some fireworks. I'm going to be grilling up some good food and, hang out with some people down here. How about you, dude?
Yeah, 4th of July is a weird holiday for me now. Now that we got Brady the dog, this is the worst time of the year for him. So we'll see what we end up doing. Might go hang out with some friends on one of the over the weekend, but this guy's going to be heavily medicated, so he doesn't have to go through all the fireworks and the explosion. Because I used to love doing that, blowing off fireworks and kind of having our own little show in our driveway now. But it's a little different now that I'm 28 and have a dog that just hates him well. So it's a little different.
We're growing up so fast. It doesn't stop whatsoever. And yeah, I've been behind the scenes, and we'll talk about it probably in the middle of the show, but I've been I built a couple websites this week for us. If you go to chgolocker.com, it's revamped, new features. It looks really nice. Same thing with the DNVR locker, and got to continue around this ALLCITY train. But yeah, it's been a good week of some good momentum and that such. And if you sign up for text alerts on the locker, you can get 10% off now. Just saying. Ooh. An extra incentive to go there and buy some shirts. We have a brand new one that just dropped this week. The future to the league, Connor Bedard, CHGO Blackhawk shirt. It's really awesome. Go check it out. But Nick, am I missing anything? I know I told people at the top that we're going to be, of course, ranking these Bears coaches. We're going to go down our pecking order, our top 10 through 1. I know in the headline I posed a question. Is Flus number 1? People will have to tune in here and stick with us to find out. But anything else you want to say before we officially kick this off?
I'll just say that when we both ranked our coaches, and you said it too, there was a good consensus on, how we thought about these coaches. But I almost have an issue, and we both had this number 10 coach. I have an issue with it. So we'll go right into it, and I'll kind of tell you why.
Yeah, we did that. I know. It's one of those things. We'll do it right now. We'll rip it off. Oh, wow. I haven't said that in years. Like a Band-Aid. What a slogan that was. Number 10, and thank God Adam's not here, so I'm going to say, but we have Richard Hightower, special teams coordinator, ranked as our 10th most important coach here on this team. And I put number 1 on my notes here. Probably would get chewed out if Adam was on the show because, like you, Nick, there's a consensus here, and he didn't end up being obviously higher on our list, but special teams is so important. Hightower has a lot of work out for him between now training camp and a regular season. I'm surprised he didn't make it higher on our list.
Yes. And we both had I think 9 when we did it, but look, Richard Hightower has a very tough job, and every single special teams coordinator does, but you work with so many different players throughout the entirety of the roster, every single different position. There's rule changes that seem to be happening every single year. And I just think that, because it's special teams, maybe it gets overlooked a little bit. But look, I just want to put it out there, like, a lot of respect for Richard Hightower, a lot of respect for what he does, how he approaches his business. And look, he has a tough task with trying to find who's going to be the number one punt returner on this team. And Cairo Santos had a slump with extra points, has to get that down, and getting different players to fill in on kickoff and coverage teams. So a lot goes into it. Just want to say that we both respect the hell out of what Richard Hightower does, but comes in at number 10 on our list.
I mean, the reason why, the third phase, it can win games, it can lose games. We've seen both ends of this spectrum, really to the most extreme levels. But he has a tough job because the third phase in special teams, a lot of usually inexperienced players, rookies, younger guys in this league, guys who aren't starting level players. And it's his job to put them in the right position, coach them up, and really to have them buy into being contributors on that third phase too. It's not really everyone's cup of tea, and he needs to make sure that they are fully engaged. And who's going to be the punt returner? Bayless? Is Dante Pettis even going to make the team? And if so, is he in the mix? What about Tyler Scott? He didn't return punts in college, but the Bears are giving him some looks over there. Kick returner, you have Herbert, Ebner, Bayless, maybe some other people in that mix there too. And I think his biggest job right now, maybe one of the more important ones, is finding a way to get Cairo Santos like back on track. Like field goals wise, last year he had good marks, but the fact that he only hit 84% of those extra points last year, he had that weird issue where he was missing a lot of those point after attempts, which was worst in the league, by the way. That 84%, only 3 kickers in the entire league kicked below 90% for their extra points. So they need to figure that one out for sure, because I expect the Bears to score more touchdowns, Nick, and I don't want to be missing all those extra points.
No, that's a really good point. And, a big part of, hopefully Cairo Santos just being consistent in all areas of the kicking game is going to be with Richard Hightower, and kind of what they figure out is going to be best for him moving forward. I think he did a better job after that I guess brief stint where he was missing extra points. He just wasn't consistent, but it's on Richard Hightower to help him figure that out. And it's obviously the consistency with the holder and the snapper and things like that. But again, just want to put it out there. Richard Hightower is very important in this Bears roster. Just comes in at number 10 on our list.
And as Gary says here, how will Hightower finally get Scales to the Pro Bowl? That's, of course, that was the number one reason why I moved it down to 10 and not up higher in the list, Gary. All right, so that's it for number 10. Let's move into number 9. And Nick, I'll let you introduce coach number 9 on our list.
Yeah, our number 9 coach is a first-year Bears coach, someone who's going to have a lot of young players to kind of work with this season. It's John Hoke, who is the cornerback / passing game coordinator for the Bears, who was actually on the Bears coaching staff, I think, in 2013, if I have that correct. But someone who's familiar with the organization, but now is a part of this new regime. But this is a guy that, like I said earlier, he has a lot of young players he's going to be working with. Obviously, Kyler Gordon going to his second season, Tyreek Stevenson being a rookie. And I know we look at Jalen Johnson as obviously a veteran. Dude's only 24 years old, Will, which is kind of crazy in a way to think, but he's still a young player that can develop and get better with each and every coaching point that he gets from a guy like John Hoke. And I just look at how the secondary was playing last season with not a lot of help from maybe the linebackers and the defensive line. They were doing some pretty good things. And you just want to see that unit, the cornerbacks, just ascend still with a new coach in place. So John Hoke comes on at number 9 on our list.
Yeah, Hoke comes in. He has to build chemistry rapport with all these guys, command that respect, and they're going to be taught a little different in this scheme. The scheme remains the same, but some of those coaching points, those priorities, and just like some of the techniques are going to be a little bit different. And I think having Kyler Gordon having more of a singular focus on a position now at nickel is going to really help Gordon out. And it's going to be up to John here to make sure Gordon is firing on all cylinders there in that slot corner position. But on top of that, Nick, he comes in and he is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least according to the Bears website, the defensive passing game coordinator too. So he's going to do more than just coach up the corners. He's going to be involved with the safeties, the new linebackers that came in, the entire pass defense, strategies, coverages, all of those things, working closely with Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, just to make sure they're on the same page. He's going to have a lot on his plate. So he comes in right away with a lot to do and a lot to prove. And he comes in with the defense that last year he gave up the 7th highest passer rating in the league at 94.4. Obviously, pass rush was a part of that equation or the lack thereof. But yeah, Hoke, I think I'm excited to see how he can challenge this young secondary, these young corners specifically, because outside the starters, we still have Josh Blackwell. You have some of these other guys that were undrafted guys that came in to step up. So it's a very young group from top to bottom, really. So I'm excited to see what Hoke can do. And on top of being the defensive passing game coordinator, which does carry a lot more responsibilities instead of just being a singular position coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is a guy that you go on the Chicago Bears website and look at his coaching experience, 42 years of coaching experience and 18 seasons in the NFL, which is an absurd amount of years that he's been coaching and doing this with different players and just getting a lot out of them. I mean, you look at the last time he was here, Charles Tillman and Tim Jennings, were Pro Bowlers at that position. And the Bears haven't had, Pro Bowlers at, the cornerback position probably since Kyle Fuller at one point. But it would be great to see if he can get these young playmakers to not only buy into what he likes to do as a coach, but to just show out on the football field and create those turnovers, become those guys that could be difference makers. And I think the Bears have the players in place. We just got to see it all. A word I love to say, come to fruition on the football field. And I think Hoke, with the experience, even though it's his first year, can get a lot out of these guys.
Yeah, so he was the Bears DB's coach. I was only a child at this time, but from 2009 to 2014. So that's a very important time. And the good news is, if you want to take it, one step further here, real quick, similar system, the Tampa 2. Like it is, like we're right back to it. And you mentioned Tim Jennings, and that put a smile on my face because I don't think Tim gets enough credit for what he was able to do here in Chicago. But that 2012, 2013 seasons back to back, that dude had 13 interceptions, and if my quick math looking at this comes correctly, 34 pass breakups in those 2 seasons. And that's with Hoke here. So getting the hands on the football and turnovers and takeaways. So Hoke almost closed this browser. Holy shit. All right. That would have been bad. I clicked the wrong tab. So yeah, getting Hoke here, I think is a good gift for the Bears. The fact that you reminded me he was here once before, and the Bears secondary was playing at a high level in a very similar scheme at the time. It's time to, wind back the clock, repeat it, and do it again in Chicago. Good call there, Nick. And I think Hoke is going to, prove his worth, prove that he should be back here. And there's a reason why he's number 9 here on our list. All right, let's move into number 8. We're going to go offense here, wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator, Tyke Tolbert. And I'm surprised Tyke wasn't higher on the list. I think I ranked him like 5th on my list, which shows where you must have put him here. But still, like, to be the wide receivers coach and to be passing game coordinator is huge. I'm going to let you kind of dive into your analysis, and I'll fill in some of the pieces as we go.
Yeah, no, I really like Tyke Tolbert. I just look at it. He almost, maybe out of the coaches that we still have yet to list here, I don't want to say it's almost easier, but he does have a lot of guys in that room. And DJ Moore makes Tyke's job a lot easier. And Darnell Mooney when he comes back, Chase Claypool. But there's like those 2 guys that I just named, Claypool and Mooney. Obviously, you want to see them be the most productive versions of themselves in 2023. And I, just kind of telling you what I've seen from Tyke Tolbert. I love how like hands-on he is with his position group. You see him a lot of times, he'll put on the punching glove, and when these guys are making a catch, he's just trying to punch the ball out. He's challenging them and trying to get the best out of them on each and every rep, regardless of what practice, portion of practice they're trying to do. So I really like the energy he brings. I just look at the group as a whole. There is some talent in that wide receiver room. So it kind of makes his job a little easier when you have a guy like DJ Moore. And I expect Darnell Mooney to come back, even though, he's obviously dealing with the foot injury, to be still a very productive player. And then whatever you get out of Chase Claypool. So you have a good, just top end of guys right there. So Tyke Tolbert, I think I forgot exactly where I ranked him on our list, but I know, like you said, you were higher on him.
Yeah, it's just in terms of importance, because you mentioned, I think how you just said it was, get whatever you can out of Claypool. Like, I'm challenging Tyke this season to not just get whatever you can. I want to see Claypool's potential being tapped into, and I want to see that on Sundays. I want to see him be a vital part of this offense, someone that can really help change games. I know we have DJ Moore, but you can't have too many good pass catchers to stress defenses. So that's what I want to see. And what about Velus Jones Jr.? Like his rookie season, that role wasn't what everyone kind of envisioned heading in. So how do we turn that around? What kind of role does Tyler Scott play in this offense? And how can you make the most out of what I would expect to be, I'm going to say limited reps, not in a bad way, but just when you look at the share, the target share, it's not going to be, the same as Moore, the same as Mooney, probably Claypool, other guys on his offense out of the backfield, tight end room, what have you. So how do you tap into that? And as the passing game coordinator, like he's going to be working closely with Getsy to develop passing concept, plays, strategies to get Fields playing at that highest level possible. On top of that, working with the tight ends coach, running backs room, because it's all kind of connected. Offensive linemen too for protections and schemes, and just make sure everyone's on the same page. So yeah, I just think it's going to be very important, whether it's weekly strategies, looking at opponents and like how we're going to adjust our passing game this week. Like Tyke's doing more than just coaching the wide receivers. And I think that's why I'm excited why we're doing the show, because we can kind of give a glimpse into that, allow our listeners to understand that as we're watching this season. Like Tyke Tolbert's like fingerprints is going to be all over this passing offense. Like everyone's going to talk about Luke Getsy because he's the big name, but Tyke Tolbert behind the scenes as that passing game coordinator, like you can't sneeze or even dismiss like what kind of impact and the importance he's going to play on either the success or what I'm hoping not failure of this Bears offense this season.
Yeah, and this is another guy like John Hoke. I mean, look, 20 years of coaching experience in the NFL, so 2 more on top of John Hoke. So a lot of the Bears coaches that they currently have, these guys have been doing this for a while. And, you can look at that in a negative way or in a positive way, but I'd like to think that, you take something from each stop, regardless of where you've been, how successful or unsuccessful you've been at that position, and try to make the best version of yourself in, the latest year coming up. And that's 2023 for the Bears, second one for Tyke Tolbert. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And like I said, the energy he brings consistently, you're going to see if you go to training camp and if there's a coach yelling out and running down the sideline, I'm willing to bet it's Tyke Tolbert. He did that last year. He's been doing that in OTAs and mini camp. So watch out for Tyke Tolbert running down, trying to catch his wide receivers, but he's a high energy guy.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because, with DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, they're all seasoned vets. They've had success in this league. So, yeah, you got to coach them up to understand what their role is in that regard. But I think his biggest job is to get Velus Jones. Everybody talks about what Velus Jones is going to do on special teams. But at the end of the year last year, Velus started to make progress on the offensive side of the ball. Made a nice catch downfield, coming under a football about 40 yards downfield to the right side underneath the corner. And then he had that, jet sweep for a touchdown. To me, speed is so important in this league. And when you have a guy that's in motion in the backfield pre-snap and getting eyes off of Justin Fields, even for a split second where Justin can use that misdirection to keep it and maybe go to the house, untouched like we saw a couple times, how important is it that Tyke Tolbert gets Velus Jones to another step this year?
I think it's highly important. I mentioned that when I was going through my spiel just a little bit, Greg, just because, the Bears invested a 3rd round pick in Velus, and you don't just he had one, subpar rookie season. And I know you drafted another receiver and you got DJ Moore in the building now, but you don't just give up on Velus. There's something there. And I remember after Velus got drafted, just listen to Ryan Poles. I almost got the other one out there too. I need to be on the show more because I'm just second guessing which P word needs to come out of my mouth. But listening to Poles speak about him and how highly he was, and mentioning Debo specifically multiple times, I'm provoked. Still makes me believe that Poles believes that Velus has potential and can be a impactful player on this football team, given the right role and the right circumstances. And I think it's highly important. And I think Tyke Tolbert would be his biggest ally if they can find a way to get Velus going. And again, we have to look past this year. Next year, maybe there isn't a Chase Claypool. Maybe Darnell doesn't earn that contract extension. Those are just unknowns. I'm not saying those will happen, but those are just unknowns.
It's a good point because Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney only have 1 year left on their contract, still with a lot to prove. The only guys that have, years here still are DJ Moore and Velus Jones. So that is a good point in regards to that, because there are no guarantees with Chase and Darnell, as much as we hope it works out for both of them.
Yeah, no doubt. And just kind of wrap up the discussion on Tyke Tolbert, I think a good reflection on this goes for any coach is what can they do in terms of like the bottom end guys? How productive can they be? Because we know DJ Moore is talented. We've seen Darnell Mooney produce in this league. But it's like, how can you elevate the bottom half to be productive? And that's what I think a good reflection of a coach can show you. If those guys are starting to, gain more confidence, maybe get more looks, well, it's because of probably what they're doing with their position coaches and the trust they're getting from him that trickles down to Getsy, Janoko, and everybody else, their quarterback, obviously. But I think that's always a good reflection of how good a coach really is, the bottom end doing stuff that you maybe wouldn't expect otherwise.
I find it fascinating. I saw this comment here from Daniel just saying EQ is pretty good. Like the fact that we didn't even bring up EQ at all throughout this conversation, I think it's interesting. I don't think we need to unpack why that didn't happen, but I do find it just interesting, and I want to put a pin in that to kind of keep tabs on it. And I just want to thank Kitty Hawkins 94 who congratulated me on the adoption of AJ last week. And I just want to know, did you know you can comment on YouTube now on StreamYard? Like, that's pretty cool.
That was a discussion yesterday. I think they literally just added this feature, Will, which makes it so much more convenient because probably like you had another tab open, muted it. There you go on your phone. But it's a very nice, convenient tool that we can interact and say hello. Just like
hello. That. Thank you. Boom. Yeah. So thank you, StreamYard, because you're making our jobs easier and allowing us to interact with our listeners and audience in real time. And you don't pay our bills, but we probably pay yours. But I still want to say thank you so much. All right, let's get into coach number 7. And we're still sticking with offense here. We're going to go with David Walker, the running backs coach. Nick, why was he ranked so, I was going to say high, but I mean, we're only at 7. But why did he rank where he did for you?
Yeah, and like you, I don't want to close the wrong tab because I did have my rankings on here as well to kind of see exactly where I put him. Oh, I found it. Nice. So David Walker, I had him, and we both had him at 7. We literally both had him at 7. Consensus. Yeah, I think for me, like when you look at the running backs that he has, there's a little bit of uncertainty and at the same time, established veteran presence. And when you look at Walker or Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert's going to year 3 now. Roshan Johnson obviously being a rookie. Also throw Travis Homer and Treston Ebner in there. They have a lot of backs. And when I look at what David Walker's job is going to be, I don't think he needs to necessarily find who's the number 1. He has to just find who's going to work in what's going to be a running back by committee approach. And so I think it almost in a way makes his job a little bit easier because he has more guys that I think he already trusts at this point. They haven't even put on pads yet, but yet when I've talked to David Walker, like that wasn't an issue not having a solidified number 1 guy. He's like, this makes my job easier because I do have guys that can do a lot of great things. And I think once we see the pads come on, maybe that's where David Walker is going to find a little bit more trust in whatever running back that may be. But the group itself is a little, again, there's a bit of unprovenness. There's a bit of, hey, look, Khalil Herbert is one of the best running backs in the league in terms of yards per carry. So there's a lot there. And I think with David Walker, it's just going to be about seeing what works best on a given drive versus a given team. And that's why he's the coach of this squad right here. And that's going to be a big part of, getting the most out of this running back room.
Right. And he's going to work with Getsy on that too, in terms of just giving his straight up advice and opinion. Like, I think, Khalil should be the guy this week, or maybe it's Foreman. Maybe it's Rojo. Maybe Roshan Johnson can be, carve out a hefty role. And you still have Ebner around, Travis Homer, someone that they signed. Like, it's easy, but it's going to be difficult all at the same time to figure out the best way to either divvy up these touches or find out who you want to lean on, drive specific, play specific, game specific. There's a lot of variables here. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how he can leverage what we talked about and ranked all these positional groups before. Like, this is a very complete and a very strong group from top to bottom. There's a lot of talent here, and it's going to be up to David Walker to figure out the best way to utilize that talent. And it's going to be a challenge, but it's a better situation and a better challenge than than just having a guy and then no one behind him and just kind of, praying and crossing your fingers that he doesn't get hurt and then trying to scramble after the fact. So I think David Walker, very important here this week. But personally, I would have had, I think, Tyke higher than him, which I think I did, but it's okay. That's why we do a consensus list, and he's number 7 on our shared list. Anything else about David Walker before we hit our first break?
Yeah, no, I think just with David Walker, like the Bears obviously were one of the best rushing attack last season, mixing Justin Fields with that. So you don't want to see any drop off. You don't have David Montgomery now. So it is a different, obviously, room as you're looking at it in 2023. So it's just going to be important for David Walker to still get the most out of this group, because that's still going to be a big focus of this offense, rushing the football, incorporating Justin Fields in that to hopefully open up the pass game as well. So just want to keep that going as you're, looking at this offense to improve in 2023.
Absolutely. His job just changes a little bit compared to last year, and how he can shift his role and those priorities is going to be key for the Bears without question this year. So good point there, Nick. And I know Gary's in the chat saying, like, Ebner's not going to make the team. A, let's get through training camp. But B, neither Nick Iyer said he was going to make the final 53-man roster here on the show either. But let's go ahead, Nick. I think you're up first here for our break, and then we'll get back to ranking some Bears coaches.
Yeah, I have to tell everybody about Lewis University. Many of the students that attend Lewis University are adults just like you. Many have full-time jobs and or families, and all of them chose Lewis's supportive educational community to help make their transition back to school as easy as possible to earn a respected degree. 35 miles southwest of Chicago and Romeoville, ranked as one of U.S. News and World Report's top-tier colleges, and Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts and offers evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance work, family, and education. And faculty bring real-world experience and instruction to the classroom, which is immediately relevant to your career. And they also offer career support and academic resources for adult students. Whether you're looking to complete your bachelor's or maybe your master's degree or enroll in a professional certificate program, Lewis has the right program for you, guaranteed. And Lewis offers several career-focused programs that will set you up for success. And we're just going to highlight one here. Let's go maybe the computer science, which has eight-week sessions, can be completed in 1 year. That's convenient. Concentrates in software engineering, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, digital forensics, enterprise and cloud computing. I did not obviously go into this program, but you can go in there and find out exactly what all that means. And also, if you're looking at something else, they also have adult undergraduate programs in aviation maintenance technology certificate, business analytics, criminal justice. I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then I figured out I don't really like anything that goes on there. So then I went to journalism. But here's the most important part, everybody. You can discover how a degree from Lewis can help you build a better world, and learn more at lewisu.edu/you can do this. And one more time, that's lewisu.edu/you can do this.
Awesome. It's Friday, which means it is a Sunnyside Summer Friday here at CHGO. And Sunnyside Dispensary is, I live in Indiana, but whenever I make it into the city, Nick, I like to make a stop before I go over to your house. Place that I love to go. They're just super welcoming. They're knowledgeable of all their products. I love their upbeat, positive energy. And I'm just confident when I leave Sunnyside, I'm going to get the bang for my buck, and I'm getting a really good product that I can enjoy legally in Illinois. So Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. It's your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are in your cannabis journey. Easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Great, transparent loyalty program, the Sunnyside Rewards. And it's just, like I said, it is like my favorite dispensary in the city, without question. And since it is Friday, I'm excited to get done with this podcast. I put a lot of work on this week. I'm excited to head into this holiday weekend. And speaking of, feeling good, the moment that I felt probably the best this week in Chicago sports is when the Blackhawks were able to leverage that first overall pick in the NHL draft to get Connor Bedard. And I'm excited to see how he can shape not just the future of the Blackhawks, but really the future of the NHL as a whole. And just talking about a couple of their, products and the brands right now, I really like Wonder, the Wonder Wellness Company. They want to make the world of cannabis simple to understand, easy to experience for everyone. The brand's low-dose formulations offered in gummies and mints allow people to control their high, which is pretty good, whether it's for microdosing throughout the day or just easing into their cannabis experience. Really good stuff there at Wonder. So right now through August, head into sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer. That's not stackable with any other promotions. And that's not only for new customers, but anyone can use our code. So pick up everything you need to elevate your summer heading into this 4th of July weekend. And of course, you must be 21 or older and an Illinois medical card holder. All right. Real quickly before we get back into the things, I mentioned Connor Bedard during that read, and something, again, it's a really exciting time, and we dropped a brand new shirt this week over on the CHGO Locker. So definitely go check it out. It's the Future of the League shirt. It's really cool to celebrate this moment for Chicago sports, this moment in time as we're about to embark on a new journey here for Chicago hockey. So to go check out this shirt to celebrate the moment, and the Back to the Future is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. The Hawks, of course, my favorite hockey team, and I just love this collaboration here. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I put a lot of work into our Locker website, and hopefully you enjoy your experience.
Yeah, no, I already enjoyed the work that you put in, Will, because I went on our Locker, CHGO Locker, and bought the Future of the League shirt, and it just has a nice nostalgic feel to it, just the look of it, and I can't wait until that gets here so I can rock it and get back into the Blackhawks hockey. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, tuned out with how they've been playing with everything going on, but now there's just a new feeling in the city with a guy like Connor Bedard. So I'm really excited for that.
Absolutely. All right, let's get back into some Bears talk and continue our ranking of Bears coaches. We gave you coaches 10 through 7. Let's get into coach number 6, which is Travis Smith, the defensive line coach, which, Nick, he has a huge season ahead of him because he has to develop guys like Javon Dexter, Zach Pickens, and Travis Bell. A lot of young rookies. The Bears really invested in defensive line in the draft, which makes Travis Smith's job, I think, a little bit difficult, but also just super important to get these guys to not just developing, but also in a spot where they can contribute here in year one.
No doubt about it. I mean, when you look at the defensive line as a whole, you feel a lot better about the interior right now than you do the edges. But for Travis Smith, this is a huge year for him because, like you said, not only the rookies that you need to develop, teach them the game, and all those little intangibles that come with being a rookie, but for guys like Travis Gibson and Dominique Robinson, who have a lot to prove this season, it's going to be on a guy like, Travis Smith to get the most out of them. And, Travis Smith was the guy that said that Travis Gibson's going to be starting to play both sides now, and he's going to have to teach and kind of just refine the footwork that he's going to have to change up when he's now going on the right side now, just doing little things to hopefully get the most out of a player that did show some progress when he first entered the league in his second year specifically. So I think with Travis Smith, he doesn't have the most to work with. Let's be completely honest. But you could still get a lot out of those guys if you're just, again, coaching players the right way and, demanding what Flus, has implemented into this Bears team is that his principles. So you do a little bit of combination of all those things, and then you could see hopefully some highlights, some flashes from this group where, like I said, it doesn't have the most star end talent, but you could still make a productive unit, especially because there are going to be a lot of rotations, and Travis Smith's going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gibson, but what about like Dominique Robinson? What kind of jump can we see from Dom Rob in year 2? And Travis Smith is going to be a key of unlocking and just getting Robinson in a position to make that jump, become more impactful. And the Bears are hoping on it, banking on it, because when they drafted him, notoriously raw. Like, it was just, this is a raw guy, but the high end traits are there. Go coach him up. And we saw glimpses of it early on last season. Kind of fizzled out, but that kind of happens. You reach a plateau, and now you have to bust through it. And it's up to Travis Smith to help Dom Rob kind of bust through that. And on top of that, another new guy, DeMarcus Walker. How much can he tap into DeMarcus Walker? Is he going to be on the outside? Is he going to line up on the inside? How do you get to, leverage this talent? Because Walker had 8 sacks last season. That was double the amount of the Bears defensive line as a whole last year, which, Travis Smith was a part of that. He needs to turn that around here too. And it's just like you said, it's going to be up to Smith to figure out the best combination of players on the field, whether it be, in specific packages or situations in game. And of course, the Bears' run defense was horrendous last year. You got to shore that up. You got in Billings. You have some other guys that can help. But again, it all comes down to coaching here first. And I think that's why Travis Smith is so important, because if he can't figure out how to generate more pass rush, and if he can't stop the run, it doesn't matter about the new linebackers. It doesn't matter about having that strong secondary. The defense is still going to struggle because it all starts up front with Travis Smith's group there for the defensive line.
Well, I really liked what you said there about finding the right combinations, because that is going to be huge for this group, because there's a lot of interior guys, and you can actually put DeMarcus Walker on the inside at times, but it is going to be up to like a guy like Travis Smith to figure out, okay, here's a down and distance that we're facing. Here's the team that we're facing. What combination of players is going to put us in the best position to make this stop? And that's a huge thing, because we know it's going to be a lot of rotations, a lot of guys getting breathers, but when it comes down to having to make a stop on third down, or you're at the goal line, how is Travis Smith going to put the right combination of players out there to make that stop happen? So that is going to be a big part of his job, and I'm looking forward to seeing him grow in his second year with the Bears here.
All right. I believe it or not, that's half of our list. We are just halfway done with the list of the 10 most important Bears. So let's get into our top 5 now. And Nick, I'll let you introduce coach number 5.
Yeah, coach number 5 I actually saw earlier today, but coach number 5 has a big task. Someone that is going to be huge for the entire season, really. And that's quarterbacks coach Andrew Janocko, a guy that is going also into his second year with the Bears, but he works hands-on every single day with Justin Fields. When you see the warm-up drills, Janocko's right there. He's sometimes handing the ball off to him or rushing at Justin Fields to make him throw the ball on time and at the specific spot. But he's a big believer in analytics, in the 3-step game, the quick game, how it needs to be approached. And that's going to be a part of this Bears offense, and a part of the offense that needs to be a lot better. And when Justin Fields, Janocko, Getsy talk about footwork, hey, that's going to be what Janocko is going to be working on in those position drills with Justin Fields. So it is obviously a huge part. He has such a big responsibility, just to get Justin Fields to be playing at his best in year 3 in the NFL. But, I like to think, though, that when you do have a guy like Justin Fields, and I know still unproven, still needs to show a lot, it's is it a little easier to have like a talent like Justin Fields, or is it make it more difficult because he's so young? You can see it both ways a little bit, but I would like to think the hard worker that Justin Fields is, who wants to be a perfectionist at everything he does, for Janocko, it's like, okay, I'm glad I get to work with a guy like this on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different frames you can look at this through. Like, is it easier because he has more talent to work with? I would say yes, but the challenge is, I think the stakes get a little higher. The expectations are raised. So as a coach, the pressure is on, because if Justin does struggle, and if some of that's his footwork, decision-making, and just not looking prepared, that's going to come back to Janocko, which in my notes I put is the right-hand man of QB1. He is that guy, and he's going to have the closest relationship with Justin Fields and, building this year. And that's key for his success. And it's more, like you said, than the X's and O's. He has to get Justin prepared mentally, physically, psychologically. It's got to be you have to be well, and all those facets succeed. And on top of that, he's that liaison, the middleman between Fields and Luke Getsy, making sure the communication between all three of those is on point, and there's no miscommunication. There's no incongruences with thoughts and philosophies and beliefs. They need to be on the same page, and Janocko is going to be that guy to make sure everyone on both sides, his boss, Luke Getsy, and his quarterback, Justin Fields, are all on the same page. And it just goes down to all those super nitty-gritty details. We don't need to get into all those specifics, but it's just up to Andrew Janocko to tap into Justin. But luckily, I think you said it too, Justin is the hardest worker in the room. He has a deep, burning desire to be great. So that makes Andrew's job easy in that regard, but just keep finding ways to challenge Justin and allow him to reach different and new milestones. It's going to be key this season for the Bears, really.
No, it definitely is. And I think another part, it's just the teaching that goes into it. Like every time they go into the quarterback's room, it's making sure whatever message, whatever details are trying to be translated from Janoko, it's going into Justin Fields' ears, staying there. He's processing, knowing exactly what it is. And then it's relaying and showing it on the football field. And that's a big part of it. Stuff that we don't ever get to see, but just how the message is being transferred from teacher to player. And, that's what Eberflus likes to call all of his coaches are teachers. That's a big part of it too. We don't get to see that, unfortunately, but Janoko is going to be right there, like you said, his right-hand man, even though he's a left-handed quarterback, Janoko is, but he's going to definitely be a big part of hopefully Justin Fields just being more comfortable, knowing the offense and having the proper footwork, which I think is a big thing for this offense to really operate.
And this is when you're supposed to plug in the article you wrote, like what, it was like a month ago about Janoko and Justin Fields, and it was a great in-depth article, good quotes, good stats, and just go look up allchgo.com and you can search for Nick, and then it'll be right.
Yeah,
up there
hopefully
for
it'll come up. I forgot the actual headline of it, but if you look up my name, I'm sure something will come up there for sure.
It was, or just Google Andrew Janoko, Justin Fields, CHGO, and it'll pop up there too. Lots of ways to get there, but it was a good article that I stumbled upon earlier today. I was like, oh yeah, Nick wrote this. That's why I defer to you there first. So, all right, that's number 5. Let's get into coach number 4. We're now really into the top 5. We got Chris Morgan, offensive line coach. We want Justin to succeed, and there's so many different pieces of it. It's not just the quarterback's coach, Matt Nagy. I don't know why you're getting all upset about that and there. Just want to, relax, calm down. It's okay. There's so many different variables about it, but Chris Morgan, the offensive line success is going to be another vital reason why Justin Fields succeeds or doesn't this season. He needs better protection. He needs those guys up front to be playing at a higher level this season. And Chris Morgan has a few different challenges when you look across this offensive line, whether it is a second-year leap from Braxton Jones, whether it's Tevin Jenkins making another positional switch and making sure it's a successful 1-2, Cody Whitehair going back to center and hopefully refinding some of that, solid center play that we saw a few years ago. A new guy, Nate Davis, and a first-round rookie right tackle in Darnell Wright. Like, there are so many different unique challenges, and that's just your starting 5, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a good point, Will. There is a lot of it's interesting because in OTA's minicamp, there was consistency along the offensive line because everybody was playing the same position. But it's a lot of newness, too, at the same time. And Chris Morgan, I like Chris Morgan, how he approached his job. He was a big part of why the Bears got Darnell Wright, went to go work him out. And, that's why the Bears end up making the draft pick with the 10th overall pick and Wright. But Morgan has his hands full. Like, again, the Bears are very successful running the football last season. And that was with an offensive line that's not as talented as the version that he has now. But he also has guys like you just mentioned, playing at different spots or new guys coming in that now need to hopefully replicate that success and be even better in pass pro. So it's a big part on Chris Morgan to make sure all the offensive linemen are on the same page. Braxton Jones is now lining up to Tevin Jenkins. They have to establish chemistry with one another. Mm-hmm. Tevin Jenkins next to on the opposite side of Cody Whitehair now, as opposed to being at the right guard. So there's a lot of newness in this group, but I like the talent that they have and what they should be capable of doing in 2023. But Chris Morgan, he's got to unlock that, make sure everyone's clicking, make sure everyone, is on the same page. And if they can all do that, be one cohesive unit, you should see Justin Fields stay upright, to just throw more passing yards, to be more successful on offense, longer drives. And that obviously will hopefully equate to more wins for the Bears in 2023.
Yeah, eliminate the pressures that were just so consistently in the backfield last year. Obviously, there was a good unit moving the ball on the ground, and I think Chris Morgan should get some praise and some kudos for that too, because those the offensive line really helped pave the way. Of course, Justin did a lot of very special things along the way, but in terms of the running backs, this unit was blocking really well in terms of the ground game. We just have to calm down the pressures and figure out how to be a little bit more, strong up front there. And I think we're going to see it. And we mentioned all the newness. And again, I think it's just interesting because you have the unique challenges. You have a rookie right tackle, second-year left tackle who was a mid-round pick. Then you have a free agent who was playing really well in terms of Nate Davis, a very solid player. So it's not like you don't have to worry about him, but you also have to make sure he's involved and feels like he made the right choice coming to Chicago. And yeah, the position switch. And what about like Lucas Patrick? Like, where's he fit in all this? Because he is like a leader of this unit. Like, people do look up to him for for that leadership. And if he doesn't have a starting role, I mean, heck, like, we're still like, I'm assuming he makes the team, but again, and it's not a lock by any means. Like, how does that dynamic kind of play into it too? Because like last year he wasn't starting, but he also was kind of hurt, so that didn't play in, super well. So it's just, I don't know. Like, all the other rooms are like, oh, look at all the talent, easy, done, or tap into this or develop here. Offensive line, like, every single position has its own unique circumstance that I think Morgan's going to have to navigate, which makes his job very important to figure it out. But, and as we mentioned, I think the importance of his unit playing at a higher level to allow us to get that proper evaluation and potential growth from Justin Fields is a big reason why both of us put him in our top 5.
Yep. No, I mean, I can't add any more to that, Will. Chris Morgan, you have more talent. Let's see what you could do with it. And, obviously it takes more than just the offensive line to make the offense run, but it starts with them. And so if Chris Morgan get the most out of those guys, then you're going to see some much needed progress on offense.
All right, let's get into our last break, and then we'll get into our top 3. If you're good at process of elimination, you may have an inkling of who's in the top 3, but do you know the order? But before we get to that, I want to let you know about Pins and Aces, because they are the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO, and we love our Pins and Aces gear, and we get a tons of compliments both on and off the course. My neighbor's actually in a golfing trip right now, and I told him about Pins and Aces a few weeks ago to kind of prepare for the trip, and he sent me a text like, hey, I'm looking good out here. And I asked how he was playing, and I didn't get a response. We may know exactly how that's going here, but they are a family-owned golf and apparel business, Pins and Aces are, and they make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve, that innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside of your golf bag to keep those drinks cold throughout the entire round. And with the heat that's kind of coming back here today, I definitely would need one of those sleeves. So go check out pinsandaces.com. Use that code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and to get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. Again, they're a really awesome company with great golf apparel. And we're going to transition from Pins and Aces over to ComEd, because the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, they are committed to helping families and businesses in the communities that they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and, well, into the future.
That's exactly right, Will. And ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Yeah, Nick, obviously that was a lot of jargon. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, no, I got you. So first, an authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. And then within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project costs, potential incentives, and simple payback. So if you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, all you have to do is go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
So did you just say comed.com/poweringbiz?
It's exactly what I said, Will. So go schedule yours today.
Awesome stuff there. Let's get into our top 3. While we're doing that, if you haven't yet, let's give this video a thumbs up. Smash that like button for us as we're heading into this holiday weekend. Every button, thumbs up that you click, maybe it'll be an extra firework at the fireworks show that you go off to. I can't make the promise, but hey, maybe. All right, let's get into that third coach, and it's going to be defensive coordinator Alan Williams. So he is our third most important. Obviously, he oversees the entire defense. He's going to be a bit involved with every single positional group, every single unit, getting those new linebackers up to speed, tapping into that strong secondary. And we talked about there are still questions at defensive line, and he is a big reason, a big part of getting those questions answered, Nick, on top of defensive play calling. That probably should have been bullet number 1.
Yeah, and I'm just curious to see for Alan Williams, Will, there's more talent on the defensive side. It's not all the way complete. Like you mentioned, there is still that stud pass rusher missing. But what is Alan Williams capable as a play caller? Because I bet, asking Bears fans that you can chime in the chat, what are your feelings about Alan Williams at this point? You saw what historically bad the Bears were last season, but also take into consideration, what was he really working with? So this is a huge season to see, what Alan Williams can be as a defensive play caller. And, last year was his first year doing it, I think, since 2012 when he did it for the Vikings. So it was definitely a long time that he had actually been in that position before. But now we get to see what he can do with guys like Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, DeMarcus Walker. How are you going to utilize him on a down-and-down basis? And you have, like we were talking about the secondary, there are a lot of good pieces there. But it's going to be all about Alan Williams to just put that all together. And I don't know if you get this sense, Will, but when he does go up to the podium and talk, and whatever you believe from Alan Williams, that's, your choice. But he comes across very detailed, very professional. He's a guy that, and I think I wrote in one of the mailbags, there's a head coach presence to him when he kind of, goes up and speaks. And I think that resonates with all the defensive players that he kind of overlooks. So I like what Alan Williams is about. I just need to see it now that there is that more talent. What can he actually do with this defense? And obviously the main priority when you're looking at Matt Eberflus type defense is takeaways and obviously the hits. So if we can see more of that on a consistent basis, then I think you're going to be feeling a lot better about Alan Williams by the end of 2023.
Yeah, and I think okay, so I mentioned the players specifically and the position specifically that are going to be challenging, but in terms of play calling, one area where I want to see either more aggression, but really just more success is third down and then in the red zone. The Bears were the worst third down defense last year. They were allowing teams to move the chains on 49% of their third downs attempts. That's pretty much flipping a coin, and they're going to get it half of the time. That is unacceptable. That needs to be cleaned up. And he has the talent this year, at least at the linebacking unit, that's so much improved that can really help. But we need to see that tapped into, and the proper plays need to be called. And the red zone too, they're 27th in the league there. So you need to find ways to just be a little bit more stout in those key situations, because if the Bears offense improves, that's great. But if you're still giving up 30 plus points per game on defense, because you can't get off the field, because you can't stop them in the red zone, we're going to have problems. So that's why I think Alan Williams needs to really kind of, prove his worth this season, at least for me. And that's why he was up to number 3, because he's going to be, you put all the preparation in all week, but on game day, it's going to be up to Coach Williams here to make sure that everyone's on the same page and those right play calls are in place and you're adjusting on the fly appropriately based off what the opponent shows you. So Alan Williams, huge vital part of the Bears' success here on defense, if not the most important guy in the room, hence why he's number 3. Anything else? You want to move on to number 2?
Let's move on to number 2, Will, because I think, again, process of elimination, 1 of 2 guys right now.
It is special teams coordinator again. No, I'm kidding. It is head coach, actually, number 2 on our list. Head coach Matt Eberflus. He actually did not rank number 1, Nick. Why not?
It's a good question, Will. I think of Matt Eberflus, and he has his blueprint. His blueprints are literally everywhere. He goes to the quarterbacks meeting, defensive meeting, wide receiver. He's everywhere. And the big reason why the culture is the way it is because of Matt Eberflus. And this is not a slight on him. He's still number 2 on our list, but I just feel like he's no longer, obviously, he's not calling it defensive plays. That's the guy that we just talked about in Alan Williams. But again, the whole defense that they're running comes from Matt Eberflus. And how the offense, how they're going to approach that game week. Matt Eberflus is also going to be in those meetings, but he's a huge part of what the Bears were able to do and just keeping the locker room last season, how he approached it. Pretty boring. Let's be honest here. Matt Eberflus is a little bit more on the boring side, more of that kind of leader. If you don't like the hits principle, is a little corny for you, but he believes in that. And that's what his players have to show in order to play play consistently on defense or on offense. Right. But he is a guy that he has a certain way of doing things. And if you go about it not in his way, then you're going to see consequences to it. But it's not a slight on Matt Eberflus for being number 2. We just, have somebody listed just a step above him.
Just a step in terms of importance, although it's weird because you think that the head coach should be the most important, but that's why we did the list. And we both actually put him at number 2. Like it was a consensus here. And we'll get to number 1 and probably explain why that coach is higher than Eberflus right here. But in terms of Flus, like I just want to use this portion of the show just to express, like, I like his CEO approach of that being the head coach. We saw it with the head coach before him, who loves to live on our chat. Like you can get way too involved into something, and it makes you a less well-rounded coach. Like if you're like an offensive quarterback guy, great. But if you're not able to understand what's going on defense or paying attention to the game, and you're missing challenge opportunities or not calling timeouts and your clock management's poor, like you're going for it or not going for it and your decision-making is whack, then the team's going to suffer. And I think what Eberflus does, and we saw a mixed bag last year in terms of the results, and he can grow as a head coach and making these in-game decisions. But I did see a guy that was involved with the offense, involved with the defense and special teams. And I appreciate the fact that he was able to watch and take in a whole game and delegate to his coaching staff. That shows trust in the guys that you decided to hire to help run this football team. And that trust factor trickles down to the players. And that's why I really appreciate the way that Flus goes about his business here in Chicago and the type of head coach that he is. And he needs to make sure, obviously, that he keeps these guys engaged. He did a great job last year of making this team competitive in games in which they shouldn't have been. Even when they're in that losing streak, spirits were high. And that has a lot of importance here on this team, that culture and that consistent, not consistent positive energy, but just consistent keeping this team on track and everyone together and those bonds growing. And that's what we saw a little bit last year. I'm excited to see those steps forward this season in terms of the culture that is the Chicago Bears team, because they do seem like a fun unit that is coming together. And I'm excited to watch those next steps as they kind of get more involved, training camp, preseason, and of course into the regular season. All right, that was number 2. There's only one coach left, and you know who it is. It is offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Nick, why was he number 1 on your list?
Because he's going to have the biggest impact on whether or not Justin Fields can really become, this quarterback that a lot of people envision him being. And yes, a lot is on Fields himself to make the right decisions, but, there's something to calling a game, to putting plays together, learning from the last series, and, having this chess match with a defensive coordinator to maybe scheme something up initially in the first quarter and come back to it to the fourth quarter. That's going to be all on Luke Getsy and obviously the rest of the coaching staff, but he needs to really get the most out of Justin Fields in year 3, Will. Like that's as easily as how I can put it and how important this season is, because if we don't see that jump and maybe it's going to be part on Fields, not processing as quickly as you like, or whatever, maybe the receivers not getting, or whatever, but it's going to come down to the play caller and Luke Getsy and how he's like calling plays. And I think a big challenge for him this season is that, Justin Fields can impact a game on the ground with his legs. Mm-hmm. And that still needs to be a part of this offense, but you just need to be aware of when you're calling certain run plays. If you're at the goal line and having Fields run power, like that's a risky business move. Like you could do that at times, but you can't have that be your go-to. And that's going to be on Luke Getsy being comfortable with the rest of the playmakers he has and how he utilizes them to really get the best out of them. But that was a long version of how I could have just said he's going to impact. He's going to have a direct impact with Fields, but it all comes back to Luke Getsy.
It does. I mean, we can just rip it off here. I did it twice today. Play calling. Like, it's vital for the Bears this season. We saw stretches of brilliance last year from Luke Getsy where, like, there's a few weeks where, like, all right, Getsy's coming on. Hopefully he doesn't get poached and he goes somewhere else because he's coaching so well. He's play calling so good right here. But there are other times, like you said, like the power and just have you scratching your head, putting Justin Fields in unnecessary harm's way, maybe getting too conservative at times. And again, we saw a lot of good. We saw some bad, and this is the year we need to double down on what was good. And I know they did that, and they're still evolving this offense. And the next evolution of this like scheme and strategy is going to be vital here for the Bears. And Getsy's the top voice for the offense. He's the playbook, figuring out how to get the most out of this whole group of guys, and get that Fields DJ Moore connection in full force, and getting Fields to take that year 3 leap. Like there's just so many reasons. And last week we ranked the 10 most important Bears. Justin Fields, obviously number 1. So if he's number 1, then the guy who has the most like say and influence and on Justin Fields' success behind the scenes, Luke Getsy, I think it just makes complete sense that he would mirror the rankings we had last week to be number 1 on our list here too for the coaches.
I completely agree. And another thing that I just like think of as you're kind of talking this out, Will, is just rhythm. Rhythm's going to be big, and Luke Getsy's going to play such a big part of, Justin Fields being comfortable in a drive, in a play-to-play sequence, and it's how you're mixing up the pass to run ratio, calling out the bootleg, and not doing it when you have a unblocked defender who's right in Justin Fields' face. Like it's going to be rhythm and knowing your personnel, what they're good at, and maybe you can call a certain play when a certain player is not on the field defensively. Like it's a very complex job that Luke Getsy has. And I would love to talk to him about like the things that we don't even know that make his job even more difficult, because like I'm saying all these things and somehow Luke Getsy has to figure that out within the play clock that happens each and every play. So extraordinary what they do. And, obviously you see what could happen when you have some of the top play callers in the league and how successful like those offensive units can be. Obviously you have a great quarterback usually behind that, but we need to see it out of Luke Getsy this season. I think he has the offensive weapons this season to get the most out of that unit to show that this Bears offense can take a leap in 2023. But kudos to Getsy and doing the job that he does, because not a lot of people obviously can do that. And, even in our chat, Will, there's some scrutiny about Luke Getsy and what he did last season, what he didn't do, which is fair, perfectly fair. So it's going to be a big year, just like all these other coaches we mentioned in our top 10, to see what they can do this season.
Yep. And on top of that too, I just want to mention last year when Getsy first arrived, we kept comparing what can he bring from Green Bay? Like what can we do here in Chicago? And now that he's been here a year and we saw the good and the bad, and I mentioned I'm excited to see how we can double down on what was good and find those new elements of this offense. I don't want him to figure out how the Bears can be what the Packers were. I want him to figure out how this unit can be the best Chicago Bears offense possible, the best Bears offense we've seen in a decade plus, right? Because it was about 10 years ago when they were second in the league in scoring. Thank you, Mark Trestman, for a year of offense. I never thought I was going to say that here on the show, but here we are. I want to see that. And like you said, Nick, there's a lot of pieces here that make you believe it's possible and it can happen. But it's going to be up to Getsy to be the puppeteer and get everyone on the same page and this thing rolling and firing again on all cylinders. So yeah, super duper important. Greg, what's up?
Yeah, my biggest thing with Getsy, and we talked a little bit about it with Eberflus on Wednesday when we were going over confidence levels on different guys, but we didn't talk about Getsy, and I feel he falls under the same importance when it comes to his handling of Justin Fields, because we all know he's the Ferrari, and you can't overwork the Ferrari. You got to pace. It's a 17-game season. You want him to play in every game. You don't want to see injury. And when Justin started to take off, they got a little greedy with it. We all did as fans. We want to see it more and more, slam the over on his rushing yards every week and make some money. But at the end of the day, they got too crazy with it, and it led to him hurting his shoulder. Then he wants to come back before the bye week, at the Green Bay game, which I thought was reckless at the time. I did not agree with that decision. And at the end of the season, you're playing this dance of, should we play him? Should we not? And to me, this year, there needs to be a balanced offense, but also just keep in mind that Justin Fields is your Ferrari and don't overwork him. Like last year at the end of the year where he ran 80 yards down the field against the Lions, and then they run another QB designed run where he runs into a brick wall and he's laying on the wall on the sidelines I'm going to die. You have to have a little presence of mind to take care of your quarterback. So that's something of all the things we talk about with Getsy as far as scheme, I think that's equally important as them being responsible with their Ferrari.
Absolutely. Really good points there, Greg, as well. But Nick, we did our top 10 before we kind of close the episode, do you want to recap our top 10? You can go back from 10 to 1 or just go from 1 through 10.
Yep, let me pull up my document here. We had number 10, which again, it started off a little debatable for me, but we both had him at 9, but he's 10 on our consensus list. Richard Hightower, the special teams coordinator. You have John Hoke, the cornerbacks and defensive pass game coordinator at number 9. Number 8 was Tyke Tolbert, the wide receivers coach. At number 7, we had running backs coach David Walker. And then you go down to number 6, which was Travis Smith, defensive line coach. Number 5, quarterbacks coach Andrew Janoko. Number 4, offensive line coach Chris Morgan. And then our top 3, with 3 being, why am I missing Alan Williams on this list? You have a lot of praise here. Alan Williams, our defensive coordinator. Number 2, head coach Matt Eberflus. And number 1, offensive coordinator Luke Getsy.
Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the list, if you have different orders or if you just have coaches that you think should be in different spots. We would love to check it out. I know we're ending the show, but I'm sure we'll peek in the comments. And if you put in your list, we would love to interact and respond to you there. I saw a super chat came in. I didn't even see it at the time. It was really early. So, Steve, if you're still here, hope I will be, as in Will, on the podcast tomorrow. Adam's on vacation. We'll talk to Nick and Karim, who'll be like primarily running those shows. And I know we're doing some more remote stuff, so maybe I can pop on there. I appreciate your desire to have more DeWitt on the Bears podcast here. Thanks for the super chat there, Steve, too. But I just want to thank everyone who tuned in here today on your Friday, heading into this 4th of July weekend. And again, if you haven't yet, definitely give this video a thumbs up. That helps us reach more Chicago Bears fans just like you. And the algorithms be weird sometimes, so definitely help and help us out with our reach as much as you possibly can. I know we would both appreciate it. But another shout out to Greg Braggs behind the scenes for, helping us out, throwing up these comments live throughout it, and all the other producing work that goes in. It's all super appreciated. And thank you, Nick, for helping yesterday getting this list in order, because my power was in and out all day due to storms, and you stepped up and helped us get this spreadsheet in order.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that the power is obviously back now, Will. Hope everyone who tuned in, who listens, has a great 4th of July weekend. We'll be back next week, but enjoy your time off with family. And yeah, we'll be back with all the Bears coverage, so you know exactly where to go. Like Will said, hit that like button, leave some comments, and we'll be back next week.
Sounds great. I'll definitely sign off here for us. So for Nicholas Moreano and Greg Braggs, this is Will DeWitt. I hope you enjoyed today's CHGO Bears CHGO Audible podcast. We'll be back next week, but until then, bear down, Chicago.